Ogechi beamed as she stepped out of the brand new car Jude had just gifted her. It was a sleek black luxury sedan with tinted windows and polished rims that glistened in the sunlight, a perfect match for her extravagant lifestyle. Jude stood beside her, smiling warmly. His deep-set eyes held a tenderness that could melt anyone's heart. From the very beginning, Jude had shown Ogechi a world she only dreamed of. Expensive jewelry, designer clothes, and diners at the finest restaurant were just the tip of the iceberg. One Saturday afternoon, Jude took Ogechi on a shopping spree in the city's most luxurious mall. As they walked through the glossy halls, Ogechi's eyes lit up as the sight of the high-end fashion boutiques and glimmering display windows. Jude noticed her excitement, gently squeezed her hand. "Whatever you want, my love," he said with a soft smile. Ogechi's heart fluttered with joy as she tried on various dresses, each more exquisite than the last. "This one," she said, holding up a shimmery red gown that formed her curves perfectly. Jude nodded approvingly. "It's stunning, just like you," he complimented, his eyes filled with adoration. He never hesitated to swipe his credit card at each store, paying for designers' bags, perfumes, and jewelry that caught Ogechi's fancy. As they left the mall, laden with shopping bags, Jude insisted on carrying most of them. "Let me help you with these," he offered, taking several bags from Ogechi's hands. Despite his wealthy background, he always tried to make life easier for her, showing a side that was both loving and attentive. Ogechi revealed in his gesture of affection. It wasn't just the material things, it was how Jude catered to her needs, pampered her, and made her feel like a queen. Back at Jude's grand estate, Ogechi sank into the plush sofa in the living room, admiring her new purchases laid out on the coffee table. "You spoil me too much," she teased, her voice filled with mock reprimand. Jude chuckled. "I just want you to be happy," he replied, his voice soft and sincere. "When I see you smile, everything feels right." Their love story seemed perfect, like a fairy tale unfolding in real life. Jude's family, wealthy and influential, had one primary concern: securing an heir to carry on the family legacy. As their only son, Jude was under immense pressure to marry and settle down quickly, though Jude had wanted to take his time. His parents were insistent. "We want to see our grandchild before it's too late," his mother often said with a hint of urgency. The wedding plans were set in motion, and no expense was spared. The most prestigious wedding planner in town was hired, and the grandest hall was booked. The entire community buzzed with excitement over the upcoming event. Ogechi's parents were thrilled that their once troublesome daughter had found a suitor as generous as Jude. They couldn't believe their luck. Ogechi, known for her rebellious ways, was about to marry into wealth and privilege. However, there was one person notably absent from all the preparations: Ogechi's sister, Nneka. The family found her absence strange, but Ogechi was unbothered. "She's just jealous," she would say, dismissing their concern with a wave of her hand. The two sisters had not seen eye to eye for a while. While Nneka was quiet and reserved, Ogechi embraced life's pleasures with open arms, never hesitating to indulge herself. As the wedding date approached, Ogechi couldn't contain her excitement. She often imagined herself walking down the aisle in a gown adorned with crystals, marrying the man who had given her everything she desired. One evening, after another day of wedding planning, Ogechi and Jude sat on the terrace of his estate, sipping champagne. Jude held her hand, his eyes twinkling. "I can't wait for us to start this new life together," he said. Ogechi forced a smile, but a hint of uncertainty flickered in her eyes. She was too used to the comfort and luxury Jude offered. "I hope nothing changes," she thought to herself. The morning sun shone brightly as Ogechi flipped through wedding magazines, planning the final touches. The excitement was palpable. Everything was moving smoothly, and soon she'd be walking down the aisle, fulfilling her dream of a grand wedding. However, her day took a sharp turn when her phone rang abruptly. It was a call she never anticipated. "Ogechi, come quickly. Jude has been in an accident," the voice on the other end shouted frantically. Ogechi's heart skipped a beat. her hand trembling as she tried to comprehend the news. Where? How bad is it? She stammered, her voice filled with panic. She hurriedly grabbed her purse and rushed to the hospital, her mind racing. When she arrived, she saw Jude's parents in the waiting room. Their faces ached with worry. What happened? Ogechi asked, breathless, her eyes wide with fear. Jude's mother looked up, tears beaming in her eyes. He was driving to pick up the engagement ring when a large truck collided with his car. He's alive, thank God, but the impact was severe. He's lost his sight. The words hit Ogechi like a punch to her stomach. Like a punch to the stomach. Blind? What do you mean, blind? She asked, her voice barely audible. The doctor, a kind-faced man in his 40s, stepped forward to explain. The collision caused significant trauma to his optic nerves. We've done all we can, but the damage is extensive. He may never regain his sight. Ogechi felt her knees weaken, the weight of the news too heavy to bear. Her mind raced, not just with fear for Jude's health, but also with the implications of his blindness. How will our life be now? She wondered silently. The thought of adjusting to this new reality seemed overwhelming. Jude was soon wheeled out of the emergency room, his eyes bandaged. Ogechi's heart ached as she saw him, frail and vulnerable. She approached his bed, trying to sound strong. Jude, I'm here, she whispered, holding his hand tightly. Jude smiled faintly, his face still bruised. I knew you'd come, he said, his voice filled with a mixture of pain and hope. Jude's parents, though devastated, were determined to ensure their son's well-being. Ogechi, we are counting on you to help him through this. Anything you need, just let us know, his father said, trying to sound composed. Ogechi nodded. I'll do everything I can, she promised, though uncertainty lingered in her heart. Once Jude was discharged, he was brought back to his Brad estate, now filled with a somber atmosphere. A maid was hired to assist with his daily needs, ensuring he had someone to care for him during the day. At night, however, it was Ogechi's responsibility to be by his side. Initially, she made an effort, helping him to find his way around the house, administering his medications, and comforting him through the darkness that had enveloped his life. But the reality of caring for a blind man soon wore on her. The once appealing love story now felt burdensome, and Ogechi's mind began to wander. She missed the carefree days of luxury, of being pampered and not having to think about anyone but herself. Despite Jude's condition, Ogechi continued to ask for money, justifying it as she needs to maintain the lifestyle they had established. Jude, despite his blindness, sensed the change in Ogechi's behavior. He often felt her impatience and noticed the growing distance between them. Ogechi, are you okay? He asked one evening, his voice full of concern. She sighed heavily. I'm fine, Jude. It's just a lot to handle, she replied, her voice lacking the unusual warmth. That night, as Jude lay in bed, he heard Ogechi talking on the phone in hushed tones. I can't believe this is my life now, she whispered, her voice tingling with frustration. It was the first time Jude truly grasped the reality of his life, one filled with not just only darkness, but also with loneliness. The one vibrant relationship that had been the envy of many was now shrouded in uncertainty. As Ogechi's heart grew colder, Jude's hope for their love began to wane. He couldn't shake off the feeling that his blindness had changed everything, making Ogechi question whether she still wanted to be part of his life. Ogechi's frustration grew steadily. The love and care she once felt for Jude seemed to fade with each passing day. It wasn't just the burden of his blindness, it was the inconvenience of it all. Her social life, once filled with clubbing, shopping sprees, and exclusive events, had been taken aback to the monotony of caring for Jude. Jude's request, though simple, now felt like a chore to Ogechi. Can you help me find my slippers? Jude asked one morning, his voice tentative. Ogechi rolled her eyes, her tone laced with irritations. Why don't you try to be more careful next time, Jude? I can't always be at your beck and call. The maid, whose name was Choma, noticed the strain between the couple. Choma had been hired to assist Jude during the day, ensuring he had his medications, meals, and a clean environment. But when the sun set, she left, leaving Jude and Ogechi alone. Chioma tried to be gentle as possible with Jude, often staying longer than required to help him bathe and ensure he was comfortable. Jude appreciated her efforts, though he yearned for Ogechi's attention. "Thank you, Chioma," he would say, a sad smile on his face. "I don't know what I'll do without your help." Ogechi, however, resented the maid's presence. She saw Chioma as a reminder of everything she had lost: the freedom, the fun, and the ease of being with a man who could cater to her every need. Meanwhile, she continued to demand money from Jude, often claiming she needed it to keep up the appearance for their upcoming wedding. One evening, as Jude sat alone in the living room, he overheard Ogechi's voice from the other room. She was on the phone with a friend, her tone low but sharp. "I can't believe I'm stuck like this. He is blind, for heaven's sakes. I didn't sign up for this kind of life," she complained. Jude felt his chest tighten, the word cutting deeper than a physical pain he had endured. He had always known that Ogechi loved the good life, but he had always hoped that their bond was deeper than material things. He wanted to believe that she would stand by him, even in his darkest moments. Ogechi's night outs became more frequent. She would return home in the early hours of the morning, reeking of alcohol, and often stumbling as she made her way inside. Jude would lie awake, listening to her stagger through the door, his heart heavy with disappointment. "You've changed, Ogechi," Jude said one morning, unable to hide his hurt any longer. Ogechi's response was cold and distant. "Of course I have. My whole life has changed. You're not the same man I fell in love with," she retorted. Her words stung, but Jude was too tired to argue. He tried to reach out to his friend Nick, the only one who still visited him regularly. Nick was a straightforward man who never shied away from speaking the truth. "Jude, I warned you about Ogechi. You saw how she was, but you were blinded by love," Nick said during one of his visits. Jude nodded, feeling a mix of regret and resignation. "I know, Nick, but I thought love could change her." Nick shook his head. "It's not too late to rethink things. We deserve someone who truly cares for you." Ogechi's disdain for Nick only grew stronger. Whenever he visited, she would glare at him to make snide comments. "Why do you keep coming here?" she asked once. "Don't you have anything better to do?" Nick remained unfazed. "I'm here for Jude, not for you," he replied firmly. Meanwhile, word of Jude's blindness spread throughout the community. Most of his friends stopped visiting, unable to handle the awkwardness of seeing their once vibrant friend reduced to a life of darkness. The day Nneka heard about Jude's accident, she couldn't ignore the pull in her heart. Despite the bitterness of their past, she decided to visit him. When she arrived, Jude's face lit up as he recognized her voice. "Nneka, is it really you?" he asked, his voice filled with a mixture of joy and disbelief. Nneka, fighting back tears, replied, "Yes, Jude. I came to see how you're doing." Jude's happiness was evident, but it was fleeting. "I wish things were different," he confessed. "I never meant to hurt you." Nneka nodded. "I know, Jude, but life has a way of teaching us lessons we never expected." As Nneka was leaving, she crossed paths with Ogechi at the front door. Ogechi's eyes flashed with anger. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. Nneka simply walked past her, refusing to engage Ogechi. Furious, stormed into the living room. "Why was she here?" she asked Jude, her voice sharp. Jude's answer was calm but firm. "Nneka will always have a special place in my heart. You need to understand that." Ogechi's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that," she muttered under her breath. The tension in the house was palpable. Ogechi's resentment had reached its peak, and Jude's hope for their future seemed to diminish with each passing day. But Ogechi's cruelty was about to take a dark turn. The atmosphere in Jude's home grew colder by the day. Mirroring Ogechi's dwindling affection, Jude could sense the shift more accurately now. Each word from Ogechi seemed laced with bitterness, and her presence felt more burdensome than confronting. He had tried to hold on to the love they had once shared, but it was clear that Ogechi had changed. One night, after the maid Chioma had left for the day, Jude felt an intense thirst. "Ogechi," he called weakly, his voice barely audible. "Please bring me some water." There was a long silence before Ogechi's footsteps echoed down the hallway. She appeared at the door, holding a glass of liquid. "Here," she said curtly. thrusting the glass into his hand. Jude, still adjusted to the darkness that had become his reality, instinctively brought the glass closer to his nose. An acid, pungent odor hit him instantly, and he recoiled. "This smells like urine," he exclaimed, his voice trembling with confusion. Ogechi's response was cold and unwavering. "Yes, it is urine," she said, crossing her arms. "If you want to quench your thirst, you better drink it." Jude's heart pounded in his chest, not just from the disgust, but from the realization of how far Ogechi's cruelty had gone. "Why would you do this to me?" he asked, his voice breaking with disbelief. Ogechi's eyes were filled with a mixture of anger and contempt. "Because you deserve it," she spat. "You think you can keep talking about Nneka and expect me to care for you like before? I've had enough, Jude. You're nothing but a body now." Before Jude could respond, a voice rang out from the doorway. It was his mother, who had come over unexpectedly. "Ogechi, what are you doing?" she shouted, her face a mixture of shock and fury. Ogechi tried to defend herself, but her words came out weak and insincere. "I was just testing him, that's all," she muttered. Jude's mother moved quickly to his side, her eyes blazing with anger. "Is this how you've been treating him? While we trusted you to care for him?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "This is beyond cruelty." Ogechi, realizing she had been caught red-handed, tried to turn things around. "You don't understand. I've been under a lot of pressure," she said, her voice softening, a feeble attempt to gain sympathy. But Jude's mother wasn't having any of it. "Pack your things and leave this house immediately," she ordered, her voice firm and commanding. "You have no right to stay here after what you've done." Ogechi's unrepentant smirked and picked up her purse. "Fine, no one will marry a blind bat anyways. I was only doing all of you a favor," she sneered before walking out of the house without a second glance. As the door closed behind her, Jude broke down in tears, unable to hold back the pain any longer. His mother wrapped her arms around him, her heart breaking for her son. "Why didn't you tell me, Jude? Why did you suffer in silence?" she asked gently. Jude shook his head, struggling to find words. "I thought she would change, Mother. I believed that deep down she loved me." His mother sighed deeply, holding him closer. "Love doesn't hurt like this, my son. You need to let go of people who don't value you. You deserve better." Later that night, as Jude sat alone in the room, his mind drifted back to Nneka. He remembered their love, genuine, kind, and filled with trust. He thought about all the mistakes he had made, the misunderstandings, and how he had allowed Ogechi to manipulate his feelings. Jude felt a surge of regret, but also a spark of hope. Maybe it wasn't too late to make amends. He decided to call Nneka the next day, hoping she would give him a chance to explain, to ask for forgiveness, and perhaps to start anew. The morning after Ogechi's departure, he needed to reach out to make things right. With a shaky hand, he picked up his phone and dialed Nneka's number. After a few rings, she answered, "Hello?" Her voice was hesitant, filled with uncertainty. "Nneka, it's me, Jude," he began, his voice trembling. "I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I need to talk to you. Please just hear me out." There was a pause on the other end. "Why now, Jude? After everything that happened, why are you reaching out now?" Nneka asked, her tone a mix of curiosity. Jude took a deep breath. "Because I made a terrible mistake. I let Ogechi turn me against you, and I believed things that weren't true. I was blind, not just physical but emotional." Nneka's silence was heavy, filled with years of unspoken pain. "You hurt me, Jude," she finally said, her voice crackling. "You didn't even try to understand what was happening. You just pushed me away." Jude's heart ached as he listened to her words. "I know I have no excuse. I was foolish and I allowed myself to be manipulated. But I promise you I've realized the truth. I never stopped caring for you, Nneka. I'm just asking for a chance to make you right." Nneka sighed, her voice softening. "Jude, it's not that simple. It's been a while since we were happy together, and so much has happened. I don't even know if I can trust you anymore." Jude felt tears welling up in his eyes. "I understand. I know I've lost your trust, but I'm just asking for forgiveness." "I'm not asking for your forgiveness immediately. I just want a chance to show that I've changed and that I'm not the same man who hurt you." Nneka's response was courteous but sincere. "I don't know, Jude. You need to give me time to process all of this. You know we are talking about my sister." After ending the call, Jude felt a mix of relief and uncertainty. At least he had taken the first step towards healing a rift that he had caused. Whether Nneka would ever forgive him was still unknown, but he was willing to fight for it. A few days later, Jude's mother, who had decided to stay and care for him temporarily, urged him to invite Nneka over for a proper conversation. If you truly want to make amends, you need to see her face to face. Even if you can't see, with his mother's encouragement, Jude asked Nneka to come over. Nneka agreed to meet him at his house. When she arrived, Jude felt a wave of memories wash over him, bringing both joy and regret. He invited her to sit in the living room, where they had shared many happy moments a while back, before everything had gone wrong. Nneka, before I say anything else, I need to tell you the truth about what happened. Jude began, his voice filled with sincerity. As he spoke, the story of their past unfolded, like a painful but necessary confession. About a year ago, Jude and Nneka had been in love. They were a perfect match, filled with laughter, kindness, and a deep understanding of each other. Jude's home was filled with warmth during that period, as Nneka had recently moved in with him. He pampered her with gifts, took her on romantic dates, and planned a future together. It was like a fairy tale that would last forever. One day, Nneka's sister Ogechi approached them, asking for temporary accommodation. I just need a month, Nneka, she had pleaded. My new job is far from home, and I need a place to stay. Nneka, always eager to help, agreed. Jude, too, was supportive of the decision. Of course you're welcome here, he said, not realizing how drastically this would alter their lives. During her stay, Ogechi observed the love between Jude and Nneka, with a mix of envy and determination. She watched how Jude treated Nneka, his affectionate gestures, the expensive gifts, and the fancy diners. Ogechi craved the life her sister had and began to desire Jude for herself. Driven by her ambition, Ogechi started subtly undermining Nneka. She would steal small amounts of money from Jude's wallet and hide it among Nneka's belongings. When Jude noticed the missing money, Ogechi, friend concerned, maybe Nneka has been using it and forgot to tell you, she suggested slyly. Jude confronted Nneka about the missing money. Why didn't you tell me you needed extra cash? He asked, his voice filled with suspicion. Nneka was shocked. I never took your money, Jude. I would never do that, she insisted, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Then the deceit didn't stop there. Ogechi took things further by intentionally cooking meals that were too spicy for Jude's liking. When Jude complained, Ogechi simply implied that Nneka was careless. I think she just forgot your preference, she would say, pretending to be concerned. The final blow came when Ogechi framed Nneka with another man. One evening, she orchestrated a scene where Jude found Nneka in a compromising situation with a male friend, whom Ogechi had invited over under false pretense. I can't stay with a loose woman, Jude had declared angrily, convinced of Nneka's betrayal. Heartbroken, Nneka tried to explain, but Jude was resolute. I can't trust you anymore, Nneka, he said, his voice filled with pain. As Nneka packed her bags to leave, Ogechi pretended to be sympathetic. I'll beg him on your behalf, she promised Nneka. But as soon as Nneka left, Ogechi stayed behind and gradually walked her way into Jude's life. She mimicked Nneka's mannerism and even dressed similarly, knowing that Jude's love for Nneka hadn't completely faded. Her resemblance to Nneka made it easier for Jude to fall for her, despite his lingering feelings for her sister. Meanwhile, Nneka didn't believe the rumors that Ogechi was dating Jude until she saw the engagement photos on social media. Heartbroken, she chose not to tell her parents about it, knowing the trouble it would cause for Ogechi. Instead, she decided to leave everything to fate, trusting that the truth will reveal itself someday. Tears filled Nneka's eyes as Jude finished recounting his story. I didn't know the extent of Ogechi's deceit until recently. I was blind, but figuratively and literally, he said, his voice breaking. Nneka's voice was filled with hurt. Do you know how much pain I endured? I lost you not because I was guilty, but because you chose to believe someone else. Jude's face was etched with remorse. I know. I'm sorry. I've learned the hard way that love requires trust, and I failed in that, but I want to try again, Nneka. I want to make you right. Nneka wiped her tears and looked at Jude with a mixture of hope and hesitation. It won't be easy to rebuild what we had, but I see they're genuine, and maybe, just maybe, we can start over. With this revelation and a promise to rebuild trust, The path to their beginning felt clearer than ever. One Sunday afternoon, Nneka agreed to join Jude and his mother for lunch at the estate. The air was warm, filled with aroma of freshly prepared jollof rice and grilled chicken. Jude, still at the head table, looked up expectantly when he heard Nneka's voice. "You came," he said, his tone filled with gratitude. Nneka smiled faintly. "I'm here, but it doesn't mean I've forgiven you completely. I'm just trying to see if there's any part of Jude I once knew still left." Jude watched them with a hopeful smile. Silently, "It's good to see you two together," she said warmly. Sometimes, love needs to be tested to prove its strength. As the days turned into weeks, Nneka's visit became more frequent. The barrier between them, once solid and cold, now showed cracks of warmth and familiarity. They often sat at the terrace, reminiscing about their past, sharing laughter and even moments of silence they were no longer comfortable. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Jude decided to open up about his deepest regret. "Nneka, I never stopped loving you," he confessed, his voice filled with raw emotions. "Even when I was with your sister, it was you I thought about. I just didn't know how to admit it, not even to myself." Nneka looked at him, her eyes softening. "It's not easy to forget the pain you caused, Jude, but I see the change in you and it gives me hope. Maybe, just maybe, we can try again." The small breakthrough was enough for Jude. He knew that rebuilding their relationship would be a slow process, but he was willing to do whatever it took. "I understand, Nneka. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm only asking for a chance to make things right," he said sincerely. As their bond strengthened, Jude decided to make a bold move and show Nneka that he was committed for the long haul. He called Nneka one morning, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. "Nneka, will you come with me to meet my parents? I want to officially ask for your hand in marriage again," he proposed. Nneka hesitated, feeling a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "Jude, are you sure about this? We've only just started to mend things." Jude nodded earnestly. "I'm more certain than ever. Nneka, I want to be with you, to build a future together. I want to do it right this time." After much thought, Nneka agreed. When they arrived at Jude's parents' home, his mother was overjoyed. "Welcome back, Nneka," she said warmly, embracing her like a daughter. Jude's father, though a man of few words, expressed his support. "We all make mistakes, but it's how we correct them that matters. I'm glad you two found your way back to each other," he said. The couple soon began preparing for a new wedding. This time, the planning was simpler, with no pressure of grandeur. Nneka made it clear that she wanted a modest celebration, one focused on love rather than luxury. Jude, understanding her wishes, agreed wholeheartedly. As they shopped for the wedding attire, Jude insisted on picking out the simplest but most beautiful dress for Nneka. "I don't want anything flashy," Nneka said, her voice firm yet gentle. "I just want to be with you, Jude. That's all that matters." Jude's smile was genuine, a reflection of the man he had become. "And I just want to be with you, Nneka. Though I might not see what you are going to wear, but I just want to make sure that you are looking your best. I've learned that love is more than material things. It's about being there for each other, no matter what." That's why the progress they had made, Nneka couldn't help but feel lingering doubt. She feared public scrutiny. People would stop. People would surely talk about her marrying her sister's ex-fiancé. She worried about how it would affect their family's dynamics. Eventually, Nneka gathered the courage to tell her parents everything that had happened between her and Ogechi. Her father's face turned stern, his disappointment evident. "I can't believe Ogechi would do such a thing to you," he said, his voice heavy with emotions. Her mother, too, was visibly heartbroken. "How could she betray her own sister like that?" she asked tearfully. Nneka explained that Jude had changed and that she truly believed that they could have a happy life together. Her parents, though hesitant, eventually gave their blessings. "If you're sure about this, Nneka, then we support you," her mother said, her eyes filled with a mix of worry. Ogechi's life took a dark turn after leaving Jude's home. The lifestyle she had once relished quickly crumbled without Jude's wealth to sustain it. She moved into a small rundown apartment, struggling to pay rent, maintain the glamorous image she had become accustomed to. Desperate to cling to the life she once had, Ogechi began dating a wealthy businessman she met at a nightclub. She promised her a lavish lifestyle in exchange for her company. At first, it seemed like the solution to all her problems. Ogechi received gifts, money, and even the occasional fancy diner. But it wasn't long before she realized that the man had no real interest in her well-being. One night, Ogechi fell gravely ill. The sickness started with a high fever. Then, escalated into severe pain. She visited a doctor who, after several tests, delivered devastating news. He's contracted an incurable disease, he said bluntly. Ogechi's words collapsed around her as the doctor's words sank in. In immense physical and emotional pain, Ogechi reached out to her parents. Mama, Papa, and not well, she cried over the phone. Her voice was weak and filled in despair. Her parents, deeply disappointed in her past choices, still rushed to her aid. They took her to different hospitals, hoping to find cure, but the prognosis remained the same. She was living with an incurable disease that would only worsen over time. As her condition deteriorated, Ogechi found herself isolated. Most of her friends she once partied with abandoned her. In her loneliness, thought of Nneka, the sister she had betrayed. With a heavy heart, Ogechi reached out to Nneka, hoping for some form of redemption. Nneka was initially shocked to hear from Ogechi. Despite all the pain Ogechi had caused, Nneka couldn't turn her back completely. She agreed to meet her sister, but with clear boundaries. When they met, Ogechi, frail and visibly weakened, broke down in tears. Nneka, I'm so sorry, she sobbed, her voice barely a whisper. I was consumed by greed and I hurt you terribly. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I regret everything. Nneka's heart ached at the sight of her sister in such a state. She had always hoped that Ogechi would change, but not under these circumstances. I forgive you, Ogechi, Nneka said softly, but I can never forget what you did. I pray for your recovery, but I need to protect my own peace. Ogechi nodded, tears staring down her face. I understand, Nneka. I just hope you and Jude find happiness together. As Nneka walked away, she felt a mixture of relief and sadness. She had found closure, but it came with a heavy cost. Her sister ruined her life. Meanwhile, Jude and Nneka's wedding preparation were in full swing. Unlike the grand plans of the past, this wedding was simple and intimate, filled with close family and friends. Jude's mother, who had been supportive throughout, oversaw the final arrangements, ensuring that everything went smoothly. The day before the wedding, Jude and Nneka sat on the terrace sharing a quiet moment. I never thought we'd get here, Nneka admitted, her voice filled with both surprise and joy. Me neither, Jude said, but I'm grateful for a second chance. I promise I'll never let you down. On the wedding day, the ceremony was held in a small church, adorned with white flowers and simple decorations. Nneka, dressed in a modest but elegant gown, walked down the aisle with her father by her side. Jude, standing at the altar, couldn't help but feel overwhelming emotions. As the priest recited the vows, Nneka noticed something different about Jude's eyes. There was a hint of light in them, the flicker that hadn't been there before. She dismissed it as a trick of light, focusing on the moment. When it was time for Jude to make his vows, he suddenly paused. A smile spread across his face. Nneka, I have a confession, he said, his voice steady but filled with excitement. A month ago, I regained my sight, but I decided to keep it a secret until today because I wanted to be sure that I was marrying a woman who loved me for who I am, not for what I can offer. The crowd gasped. Nneka's eyes widened in shock. You can see me, she asked, her voice filled with disbelief and joy. Jude nodded, tears of happiness streaming down his face. Yes, I can see you, Nneka. I can see everything. I wanted to make sure our love was real, that it could withstand anything. Nneka's heart swelled with joy as she embraced Jude tightly. The crowd erupted in applause, celebrating not just a wedding, but a love that had triumphed over deceit, hardship, and time. After the ceremony, Jude and Nneka danced together, their smiles reflecting the happiness they had fought so hard to achieve. This is only the beginning, Jude whispered in her ears. I know we've been through so much, but our love is stronger because of it. Nneka nodded, and her eyes glistened with tears of joy. I believe that too, Jude. We've been tested, and we are still standing. As the night drew to a close, the newlyweds sat together watching the stars. For the first time in a long time, their future seemed clear. The morning sun bathed the newlyweds' home in a soft golden glow. Jude and Nneka awoke to a sweet scent of flowers adorned their modest but cozy living room. The day of the wedding felt like a fresh start, one free of past mistakes, lies, and betrayal. It was a day filled with hope for a life built on genuine love and trust. Jude, now fully able to see, marveled at Nneka's radiant smile as she prepared breakfast. You're even more beautiful than I remembered, he said warmly, making Nneka blush. Now you can see everything, flaws and all. Nneka teased, her eyes twinkling. I see perfection, Jude responded, pulling her into a gentle embrace. They stood in the kitchen for a moment, simply holding each other. grateful for the journey that had led them here. Over the next few weeks, Jude and Nneka settled into a routine of love and partnership. Their days filled with laughter, shared dreams, and kind of peace that only comes from overcoming immense challenge. That afternoon, they sat at the terrace where so many of their significant conversations had taken place. Jude decided to address a lingering concern. Nneka, I know it hasn't been easy for you, especially with what happened to Ogechi. How do you feel about it now? Nneka's expression was contemplative. I've forgiven her, but it doesn't mean the pain is gone. I think about what she did and sometimes it still hurts. But I also know that holding on to anger will only keep me from fully embracing our new life. Jude nodded, understanding her sentiments. You're stronger than I am. I'm grateful that you chose to give us another chance despite everything. As the month passed, Ogechi's health continued to decline. Word reached Jude and Nneka that she was now bedridden and her condition had worsened. Despite all the harm Ogechi had caused, Nneka felt a deep sense of compassion. She made a difficult decision. She would visit Ogechi one last time. When Nneka arrived at Ogechi's small dimly lit room, she found her sister lying on a frail bed, her once vibrant face now pale and gaunt. Her sister, Ogechi's eyes widened at the sight of Nneka and tears filled them. You came, she whispered, her voice weak and filled with disbelief. I couldn't let you suffer alone, Nneka replied softly, taking a seat beside the bedside. Ogechi's voice was barely audible, but her words carried the weight of regret. I'm so sorry, Nneka. I never thought my greed would bring me to this point. I hurt you, I betrayed you, and I'm paying for it now. Nneka's eyes filled with tears. I've forgiven you, Ogechi, but you must find peace within yourself. Ogechi nodded slowly, her eyes closing as if heavy burden had been lifted. Thank you, she whispered. I hope you and Jude find happiness I never did. With a heavy heart, Nneka left Ogechi's room, knowing she had done all she could. It was not the ending she had hoped for, but it was closure, an acceptance of the past and a step further into the future. Back at home, Jude welcomed Nneka with open arms. Are you okay? He asked, his voice filled with concern. Nneka nodded, leaning against him for comfort. I let go of the anger and we can move forward now, truly free. Jude and Nneka's lives together blossomed. They focused on their careers. Jude invested in projects that supported the visibly impaired, and Nneka, working as a teacher, shared her love for education with the young minds. Their home became a place of love and laughter. Occasional visits from Jude's mother, who had become a doting grandmother-in-waiting, often hitting about grandchildren. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Jude brought out a topic gently. Do you think about having a family of our own? Nneka smiled warmly. I do. I think we'll be good parents. We've learned so much about love and forgiveness. Jude's eyes sparkled with hope. Then let's make that our next adventure. Months later, Nneka found herself holding a positive test pregnancy in her hands. Tears of joy streamed down her face as she ran to Jude, who was working in the study. Jude, we're going to have a baby, she exclaimed, her voice filled with happiness. Jude's eyes widened, and he pulled Nneka into a tight embrace. Our love has truly come full circle. The news spread quickly among family and friends, filling their home with joy and anticipation. Jude's mother was overjoyed, often bringing traditional herbs remedy and advice for a healthy pregnancy. This child is a symbol of all the good that will come from your love. And she said one day, her voice filled with emotions. As Nneka's belly grew, so did the dreams of their child. They prepared a nursery, painted with bright colors and filled with small toys. Each moment felt like a gift, a reward for their pain they had endured. When their baby girl was born, she was named Adora, meaning daughter of all, a testament to their love, forgiveness, and second chances that had brought them to this moment. Jude and Nneka held their daughter close, knowing that their journey had not been in vain. As they looked into Adora's eyes, they felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The past was behind them, and the future was theirs to build, a future filled with love and hope and the promise of happiness that they had fought so hard to earn. The end. Kindly leave in the comments what you learned from this story, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.